tonight's video, I want to talk about 3 ways to get back in control with your food shopping. Now, I don't know how you're feeling about your food shopping and your eating at the moment, but have you had those weeks where you still spend the same amount of money, or possibly even more at the moment, but all week you kind of feel a little bit out of sorts and like you haven't really got a meal that you can pull together? I've certainly had weeks like that. And you end up defaulting to perhaps grabbing bits here and there, pulling together a random meal you're not really happy with, or going to the freezer, or maybe even getting takeaways, even though you've spent money on food in the supermarket or in the grocery store. So how do you get out of that place where you're not quite eating as you'd like to, but you feel like you haven't got the time, the energy, and the effort to do much about it? In my experience, the main reason people don't do their food planning, is because it seems like this big hurdle, this big thing that's going to take a lot of time, which they haven't got, and energy, which they haven't got, and it's a bit of a faff. So they just carry on instead in the same way. Now, often I talk about the hard road getting easier and the easy road getting harder, and meal planning and food shopping planning is one of those great examples of that, because we could do nothing and take the easy road for now, but actually it gets harder because you continue in this way of not really knowing what you're eating when, and feeling like you've got lots of stuff but you don't really know what to cook, and every day having to make decisions about what you're going to eat and maybe do some top-up shops and things like that. So even though you're taking the easy option at the moment, it does get harder and it takes more brain power, more energy each day. Whereas if you put a little bit of effort in now, then you'll reap the benefits and it does get easier. So I want to give you some tips to reduce the barriers to getting started, or to getting back in control with your food shopping and your food planning. Now, number 1 is to create a healthy default now. Because whatever your default is at the moment, you go to that option because it's the easiest thing to do. So that might be going to the freezer, that might be getting a takeaway, that might even be skipping a meal, that might be just grabbing lots of snacks or pulling something random together that you wouldn't serve anyone else and doesn't really meet your needs. So what we want to do is to create a healthy option that is easy to go to, and it becomes your default. So if you put in the time to develop a 1-week healthy, easy meal plan, or maybe a 2-week one, along with a shopping list of everything you need, and then all your extra little bits you need for your breakfast and your lunches, then that can become your easy, I can't be bothered, I haven't got time menu plan, because then you can just pick up that shopping list, add it to your online order, or go to your favorites, or repeat an order, or take it shopping with you, and you just know what you're getting. You don't need to think about it. That can become your easy default. And I wonder if we can use this video and the comments underneath it to pop one of your favorite really easy healthy recipes. So we can do a little bit of a recipe exchange. Do you remember those letters that you used to get years ago in the post from a friend that would say, this is a chain letter, do not break it. If you write your recipe here and send it to 6 people, then you'll end up getting 597 recipes in return, that kind of thing, which never quite seemed to work. And more recently, the email chains that did that kind of thing. So let's do that here. Let's put our favorite quick, easy, not necessarily quick, but easy, favorite, easy, healthy recipe in the comments so that we can all share them, and we can create our own default week that becomes something we go to if we haven't got the time or the energy to plan. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is theme days. Now, if you've been around FitFish for a while, if you've done any of my courses, you've probably heard a little bit about theme days. So instead of having this overwhelming choice of hundreds of recipes, hundreds of ideas, and every day having to think, oh, what am I going to cook? Or every week thinking, what 7 meals am I going to do? Then pick themes for your days so that you reduce your choice down to 2 or 3 meals. So you could have a curry night, you could have an Italian night, you could have a potato and a topping night, you could have a stir fry night, you could have a roast night, you could have a leftovers night. So pick your themes per your nights of the week, and then you're just choosing from 2 or 3 things, and you're still going to get a wide variety of different meals. And you'll reduce that choice, you'll reduce that overwhelm, your brain won't have to make as many decisions, and it will feel far less of a challenge and far less overwhelming to plan. So that's my tip number 2, is to have theme days. Now, tip number 3 is to double up and half your workload. So every meal that you make, think double. So that might be the actual meal in itself. You might eat the same meal for 2 nights in a row. You might split it with another meal in between. Typically, you can leave things in the fridge for 2-3 days. So you could have that meal twice in 1 week, or you could use that meal as a basis for the next night's meal. So if you had spaghetti bolognese one night, double up on the sauce, then you've got the sauce to go in a lasagna, or you can blend it all up and make it into a pasta sauce. So think double up with everything you're doing and half your workload, and you might freeze some meals. And then you get to the point where you're only planning 3 or 4 meals a week instead of 7. So again, reducing that barrier to entry, reducing that obstacle of actually getting started with your meal planning. So I hope that helps. By using these 3 tips, you should be able to reduce these barriers and make it a lot easier for you to start meal planning. And then once you get into a rhythm and see the benefits of less waste, less expenditure, less stress, and more health and more balance, you'll surely want to carry on. So don't forget to pop your favorite easy, healthy recipe in the comments and let me know what else helps you there. But in essence, you're trying to just make that planning a little bit easier so that you do it. Because when you do it, you'll make things easier down the line and you'll start to feel back in control again, and that will have repercussions in other areas of your life. So I'd love to hear what you think. Do let me know, and I will see you soon. Take care.